say this poor gibber doesn't realise that at South, I was 10 years at South, I was captain, I never wanted to leave the club. They went broke. South went broke, and I was 27 years of age, and I was not going to give up my rugby league career. I went to the Bears.
No excuse.
Well, my mate, what am I going to do? I'm not going to retire fat.
Finally revealed, the man who gave everything to rugby league forgot his own son's wedding the very next morning. Mario Fenech delivered a speech at his boy Joe's wedding, proud and present. Then he woke up and asked his wife when it was happening. The memory was gone, completely wiped. This is not a story about a tough guy. This is a story about what toughness cost him. Mario Fenech was a legend, a Dally M Captain of the Year, a warrior who led the South Sydney Rabbitohs through their golden era. He was the man other players feared, the immigrant kid who used his fists and his grit to earn respect in a country that did not want him. But his legacy is not about the games he won or the opponents he destroyed. It is about the brain that slowly died inside his skull, one hit at a time, while everyone watched and laughed. If this story hits you, if it makes you angry or sad or desperate to understand, use the hype feature and give this video some hype, because people need to hear what happened to Mario Fenech. They need to know that the laughs they enjoyed came from his pain. They need to understand that the brutal culture he lived in did not just break his opponents, it broke him. Mario Fenech was born on November 11th, 1961, in Valletta, Malta. He was just a baby when his family packed up and moved to Australia. His parents, Albert and Doris, brought him and his brothers, Stephen, Joe and Michael, to a new country looking for a better life. They settled in Botany, Sydney, a working-class suburb where families like theirs scraped together every dollar. The dream was simple: escape poverty, find safety, build something. His father worked hard. His mother held the family together. His brothers were his allies. But Botany was not kind to a kid with Mediterranean skin and dark hair. The Australia of the 1960s and 70s was not ready for difference. It was a monoculture that saw foreigners as a threat. Mario walked into the schoolyard and immediately became a target. Kids called him everything, every slur they knew. Worse than the words was the exclusion, the way other kids looked at him like he did not belong, like he was contaminated. He remembered it clearly later. Not even the nuns could protect me. This was not casual teasing. This was systematic bullying. This was a child learning early that his skin made him wrong, that being different meant being alone. His father Albert watched his son cry from the cruelty. He watched Mario come home hurt, not just physically, but in his spirit. And Albert made a decision. He sat Mario down and said something that would shape the entire trajectory of his life. Well, son, you'd better learn to play rugby league. In South Sydney, rugby league was not just a sport. It was a passport. It was the one place where a kid's skin color did not matter as much as his willingness to hurt and be hurt. Mario realized something crucial about the game. It didn't care where you came from or what color skin you had. Rugby league was a great leveler. Respect came through toughness. Respect came through pain. Mario played because his mates played. He played because his father told him to. But somewhere along the way, the survival strategy became an obsession. He attended Marist Brothers, Daceyville, and threw himself into the game with an intensity that bordered on mania. By 1979, he was captaining the Jersey Flegg side. By 1980, he made the President's Cup. He was rising, always rising. It was during these junior years that he earned a nickname that would define everything about him. A teammate watched Mario in a warm-up session, watched his frenetic energy, his refusal to ease off even before the real game started. The teammate shouted, "Look at Mario, he thinks he's playing in a test match." The name stuck because it was perfect. It captured something true about him. Mario Fenech had no friendly gear. He did not know how to play casual. Every collision was treated like an international final. Every moment was maximum intensity. Every touch was war. This made him a formidable competitor. It also laid the foundation for his destruction. Mario Fenech debuted for South Sydney in round 15 of 1981 against Western Suburbs. He stepped into a game that was almost medieval in its brutality. The 1980s rugby league was the kill or be killed era. Scrums were lawless brawls where men locked heads and threw hidden punches. High tackles that would today result in suspension were often just penalized with a few meters. Violence was not an accident, it was the game. Mario played hooker. This meant he packed into the scrum every single set. His head locked with the opposition hooker. His neck twisted at angles it was never meant to twist. The role was designed for men who could absorb punishment and dish it out in equal measure. Mario was exactly that man. He described the era with brutal honesty. In those days, it was kill or be killed. He engaged in legendary duels with rival hookers, most notably Balmain's Ben Elias. These were not games, these were battles. Everyone understood the code. You got in and dug deep, or you didn't survive. This environment did something dangerous. It normalized repeated head trauma. It treated concussions as badges of honor. Mario estimated later that he suffered 8 to 9 concussions per season. 8 to 9 times per season, his brain slammed against the inside of his skull. And the medical response was simple: smelling salts. wake him up, slap some chemicals under his nose, and send him back out. No assessment, no rest, no concern for what was happening deep inside his cranium. In 1986, Mario was named captain of South Sydney. He held the position for 5 seasons, but 1989 was his peak. That year, under his leadership, South Sydney became the dominant force in the regular season. They won 72.22% of their games. It was the highest win rate of his entire career at Souths. The club was often chaotic and broke most years, but under Mario, they were brilliant and unstoppable. He was named Dally M Captain of the Year. He played for New South Wales in State of Origin. He was selected for City Origin representing Sydney's best. He had reached the summit of his powers, then it all collapsed. In the preliminary final against Canberra, South surrendered a lead and lost 32-16. Mario broke his hand during this period. The broken hand cost him selection for the Australian Kangaroos tour. For a man nicknamed Test Match, this was devastating. He had 2 disappointments, never winning a grand final and never playing for Australia. He gave everything to that dream, and he did not get the ending he wanted. By 1990, South Sydney fell apart. They won only 9.52% of their games. The club's golden era was over. In 1991, Mario transferred to North Sydney Bears. He played 82 games over 4 seasons. They reached preliminary finals, but never broke through. The physical toll was accumulating in his brain. 14 years of first-grade rugby league, thousands of subconcussive hits, a sport that treated his head like rubber. In 1995, Mario signed with the newly formed South Queensland Crushers. This was supposed to be his swan song. He was appointed the inaugural captain. It was a prestigious honour. And it fell apart almost immediately. The coach was Bob Lindner. Mario and Bob did not see eye to eye. There were personality issues from the start. In round 2, Lindner stripped Mario of the captaincy and handed it to Trevor Gilmeister. Mario felt betrayed. He said, "It was obvious I wasn't part of Bob's plans. You don't have to be too smart to realize that after he took the captaincy off me, our relationship could not be repaired." Then he broke his collarbone, 7 weeks sidelined. When he returned, he played only 11 games before negotiating a release. His career was over. 274 games. 274 hits to the head that the sport forgot to count, but the humiliation was not finished with him yet. It was during round 2 of that terrible 1995 season, the same round he lost the captaincy, that something happened that would haunt him forever. South Queensland played Parramatta. Mario was walking towards the blind side of the ruck, not expecting the ball. The hooker Ray Herring fired a pass from dummy half intended for another runner. The ball struck Mario squarely on his forehead. He rubbed his head, dazed, while play continued around him. It seemed like nothing. It was the moment that changed everything, because Mario was already nicknamed the Maltese Falcon, and when the ball hit his head, commentators and fans started calling it a falcon. The term spread like wildfire. Today, in any code of football, when a ball accidentally strikes a player's face, it is called a falcon. Mario Fenech's name became Australian slang, but not for something glorious, for something humiliating, a warrior reduced to a blooper reel. After retirement, Mario became a regular on Channel 9's The Footy Show. The show was a cultural giant in the late 1990s and 2000s. It was known for irreverent, blokey humour. Mario was cast into a specific role, the passionate, slightly dim-witted, intense ethnic boy who could be easily wound up. For years, audiences laughed at segments where he was pranked or mocked. They laughed when he forgot things. They laughed when he seemed confused. The show's producers made his forgetfulness a running gag, but behind the scenes, it was different. His wife Rebecca revealed the truth years later. Mario was often pissed off by the way he was portrayed. The humiliation was constant. Rebecca said, "They took the mickey out of him where, really, he's a very intelligent man, but that's the way it rolled." The show's culture was a boys' club, and Mario did not fit. He did not gamble. He did not drink with the lads. He did not engage in the crude banter that was expected. He was different, so they made him the joke. Night after night, week after week, they built their ratings on his discomfort. Here is what nobody knew at the time. The memory gags were not gags. They were symptoms. The forgetfulness they mocked was not a character quirk. It was his brain dying. In 2016, Mario was diagnosed with early-onset dementia linked to chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, a progressive degenerative disease of the brain, the kind that builds up from repeated hits over decades. Dr. Rowena Mobbs is a leading neurologist and the director of the Australian CTE Biobank. She has been treating Mario. She stated that he presents as a classic case of CTE. The disease works like this. Tau protein accumulates in the brain. This protein kills brain cells. The cells die, the brain shrinks, the mind fades. There are no internationally accepted clinical criteria for diagnosing CTE in living patients. A definitive diagnosis can usually only happen after death, but Mario's presentation was so consistent with the disease that doctors treated it as a probable CTE diagnosis. And the scans showed something horrifying. His brain showed atrophy comparable to a dementia patient in their 80s. He was in his late 50s. Dr. Mobbs warned him starkly, it won't be long before he needs care. Eventually, he will end up needing care and dying from it. The wedding happened sometime after the diagnosis. His son Joe got married, Mario attended, and despite everything happening inside his skull, despite the fog and the confusion and the pieces of himself disappearing daily, he managed to deliver a speech. He was proud. He was present for his boy. He gave the speech and everything seemed okay. The next morning he woke up. He turned to his wife Rebecca and asked her, I'm really excited for the wedding. When is it? Less than 24 hours. That was all it took. The memory of his own son's wedding was completely erased. The speech he gave, the pride he felt, the joy of the moment, all of it gone. He had no idea it had even happened. This is what CTE does. It does not just steal memories. It steals the person. It leaves them present in the body but absent from time. Fenech was physically there but temporally broken, unable to hold on to the present moment long enough to keep it. Rebecca described the disease as a silent, lonely killer. Every day Mario wakes up confused. Every day he says, I'm confused. I don't know why. I don't feel great. He can no longer do or think for himself about complex tasks. The fierce independence of the firebrand captain has been eroded by the disease. But he retains enough awareness to understand what is happening to him. He knows his mind is failing. He said, it's not much fun to have a brain damage. He clicked his fingers to demonstrate how instantly thoughts vanish. They just disappear. The public laughs that once filled his life on the footy show are now a source of deep pain for the family. They watched as the sport and the media cashed in on his suffering. They watched as the symptoms of his brain injury became entertainment. Rebecca spoke out against the show, not in anger, but in the act of reclaiming her husband's dignity. He was not a clown. He was not a character. He was a man with a workplace injury, a man slowly disappearing. But this is not where the story ends. This is where it transforms. Despite his declining faculties, Mario chose to spend his remaining lucid years advocating for player safety. He partnered with the Australian CTE Biobank and Dr. Rowena Mobbs to raise public awareness. He went public with his diagnosis. He put a beloved face to a terrifying disease. And he did something that might be his most heroic act. He said, Washington, sport is part of the Australian landscape. I wish to see the kids of today experiencing long and happy lives after footy. I want them home healthy. I want them to have full memories of their greatest moments. This is not the strength of a warrior in a scrum. This is the strength of a man fighting a battle he knows he will lose for the benefit of strangers, for the benefit of kids he will never meet, for the benefit of a game that broke him, and the game listened. The NRL changed. The kill or be killed mentality that Mario embodied is now systematically legislated against. The head injury assessment protocol was introduced. Mandatory stand-down periods were created. These stand in stark contrast to the smelling salts era Mario played in. Mario acknowledges the evolution. He said, see, now if I just tapped you on the chin, mate, I'd be sent off. There is a hint of nostalgia in his voice, a tribute to the toughness of his era, but he also understands the necessity. The game had to change. The hits had to stop, or more men would become like him. Mario Fenech lived 3 distinct lives. Each one tells us something about rugby league. Each one reveals a different truth about the sport and the culture that surrounded it. First, he was the immigrant warrior, the boy from Malta bullied for his skin, the child who learned that pain was the only currency that mattered. He rose through the ranks with an intensity that was almost pathological. He became a captain, a Dally M winner, a legend of South Sydney, a symbol of working-class pride. He earned respect. He earned it the hard way. Second, he was the media commodity, the jester of the late 90s and early 2000s. His pain became content, his injury became a punchline. The Falcon incident and the memory gags on the footy show turned him into a household name. But at what cost? The dignity he had earned as a captain was stripped away. He was boxed into a persona that was not him. And the world laughed while his brain died. Finally, he is the prophet of caution, the man whose broken mind serves as a warning to the sport. The tragedy of forgetting his son's wedding the day after it happened is not just a personal devastation. It is a message. The hits accumulate. The debt is paid in the currency of memories. The debt is paid in the fading light of consciousness. Mario Fenech's life is explosive, not just in the way he played, but in how his story shattered the silence around brain injury in sport. It forced the game to reckon with what it had done. It revealed that toughness without protection is just destruction dressed up as virtue. He remains a fighter, always was. Only now his opponent is not Ben Elias or a rival pack. His opponent is the fading light of his own mind. In fighting that battle, in warning the next generation, in advocating for change despite his decline, he has given meaning to the suffering. He transformed his tragedy into a lesson. This is the explosive life of Mario Fenech, a man who gave everything to the game, a man the game took everything from, a man still fighting, even as he forgets what he is fighting for.